Alright, so I tried to do this video once before and it failed, mainly because
you're a flat earther and thus are completely incompetent at any and all things to do with technology, science and general braining. And also you look like a spent matchstick.
reception issues. I'm out here taking a jog in my neighborhood.
Very good, fitness is important. Now if only we'd exercise the most important muscle of all. No, I don't mean the brain, I mean the suboccipitals. It's in your neck, and very hard to stretch because of your chin hitting your chest. But I'm not one to back away from a challenge. I've done an uh-oh.
I'm trying to
wait for it.
see if I can get a focus on the moon. But if you're outside tonight, go take a look. It's almost a full moon. I don't know if it is exactly a full moon, but
I'll be honest, mate. I'm not sure it's there. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that it is. It's kind of classic, really. Flatard doesn't know how to camera / has a crappy camera / doesn't know how light works. Really is the perfect start to a video. I mean, if we begin at the bottom, it can only get better from here, right? Right? Why are you all shaking your heads at me?
it's pretty stinking close, that's for sure. So anyways, that moon right there, it debunks, whether people know it or not, it debunks the globe Earth.
I mean, it really doesn't. It is completely in keeping with our understanding of the world and the forces therein. But I'll bite. I can't wait to have reality proven wrong, and we all just disappear in a puff of logic. Except for you, of course, floating through the void for all eternity, surviving off your own sense of smug self-satisfaction.
On so many different levels, including its motion and the energy that comes off of it.
Energy that comes off of it. I mean, do you mean like the forces involved on and around it, or do you mean energy that it radiates? Because if you do, that makes me think you're going to tell me it's a light source. I don't know, I've been wrong before, but that's what it sounds like, and no, that's just too silly.
The visibility of it.
It's so visible that you can't see it. It's so beautiful.
All these things are problems. Also, biblically, we know that Jesus even said that.
Jesus said something? Well, stop the presses. I'm sure there's great value in something that a 2,000-year-old carpenter thought. I mean, this guy said you should love thy neighbor. Have you met my neighbors? Those people are
the moon shall not give her light. Speaking of end-time prophecy, meaning that the moon has its own light.
Oh, for my a-hole neighbour lover's sake. You actually did it. No, the moon doesn't give off its own light. We've already discussed this in previous videos, but simply put, something that produces its own light should not have shadows on its surface. The moon does. Case closed. Next stupid, please.
Whereas the heliocentric model says that we're supposed to be getting a reflection off of the sun.
I mean, it's not just the heliocentric model that needs it to be the case. A geocentric model would have the moon reflecting sunlight. Even a model where the Earth is shaped like a banana and all the planets are actually orbiting a complete box set of every Simpsons episode on VHS, which makes sense as the sheer volume of episodes would make that the largest object in the known universe. Don't worry about checking that, by the way. I did the maths, totally checks out.
From the moon. So that would mean and imply that the moon is not its own light, but yet a reflection.
It's not an implication, it's a demonstrable fact. I mean, riddle me this, Matchman. If the light from the moon is not a reflection of the sun's light, what causes the phases of the moon? The model we use shows the simple and obvious fact that light hitting the moon is being hit by the sun from various angles at any given time. So when the sun is to the side, from our perspective at least, first or last quarter half moon. When it's going past us to hit the moon full on, full moon. And of course, when the moon is essentially between us and the sun, new moon. And I'm not talking about an eclipse, but you know what I mean. Except for those 7 pedants out there who will bring this up, and now they can't, and will have to go out and get laid or something. I know, I'm a bastard ruining people's hobbies. But yeah, if not that, then what? How does this happen? And if it doesn't involve some sort of space giraffe, I'm going to be very disappointed.
But that's not the case. You can get a laser thermometer and test out on a night such as this.
Okay, A, do it, and B, try not to screw it up, because I'm not exactly brimming with confidence that you could work a t-shirt, let alone anything with buttons on it. I mean, do you actually dress yourself, or did your mum do it before she sent you out to get her smokes and her silly juice that she desperately needs to put up with your crap?
Test out, like on the road or whatever, some object you can test out and measure the moonlight, the temperature of the moonlight under the shade versus in direct moonlight. And what you're going to find is that direct moonlight, the temperature is cooler than under the shade.
Pretty sure I've heard this one before, but something like that, it could bear some further examination. The areas of ground under shade are warmer than that which is not. And your claim is that somehow the energy from the moon is causing that. How? The moon isn't like some space air conditioner or ceiling fan for the Earth. It's a great big chunk of rock. And let's say the observations of things exposed directly to space at night being cooler is accurate. Well, that's not exactly a far-fetched idea, but not because the moon is a space fridge or some other dumb nonsense. It's because, well, let's talk about cloud cover. If you have a hot, clear, sunny day and then during the night there is cloud cover, the temperature outside will stay relatively warm. So if clouds can keep heat in, then it's not exactly a stretch to think that the cover provided by trees or what have you could have a similar, if obviously a lot more localized, effect. Seems just a tad more likely than the moon inexplicably sucking all night. Not unlike your mum. Air horns.
Which is just the inverse and opposite of what you'd expect from the light of the sun.
Oh, holy Jeebus, it gets dumber. Okay, demonstration time. This is the moon. And this bigger guy here, well, this is the Earth. You live there. And this gigantic bugger, well, that's the sun. Now, I want you to think really hard as to how the energy output from this, why if reflected from this tiny little guy here, why would it be even remotely similar in terms of effect it would have on the Earth? That's like having a really well lit room and a hand mirror and expecting the rest of the house to be brightly illuminated by it. Not gonna happen, sweetheart.
So if it was the light of the sun, it should be operating as the light of the sun, but it's not, because it's not the light of the sun.
Or you're as smart as that which you resemble, matchstick moron.
Also, it's supposed to be, 248,000 miles away?
Not a bad point. Probably have an impact on the whole, it should have the same effect as the sun even though its not perfectly reflective surface is tiny and most of any reflected energy from it is just going to go straight into space. But no. Do go on proving yourself even more wrong.
And all of a sudden, recently, it's now in our own atmosphere.
Yes, technically that statement is correct, but not for the reasons your lobotomized brain can think. It's not closer, as I understand it. The size of Earth's atmosphere, or at least what counts as part of it, is simply much, much bigger than we previously thought. There's actually a layer of atmosphere called the exosphere that's made up of neutral hydrogen, and it not only extends out to the moon, but pretty much as far as it is away from us again. This does not mean that the moon is closer, only that something we previously hadn't detected has now been measured. And that's the beauty of science. When we find out something new, we change the facts accordingly, and not just explain them away if we find them inconvenient.
I don't know if anyone caught that, but that's amazing. Either the moon got closer, which they don't say that, or our atmosphere expanded.
No, it didn't expand either. As I said, we measured it more accurately than we have ever done before, and our previous assumptions as to where the atmosphere ends and space begins were proven wrong and definitions changed accordingly. Fun fact, the actual observations were made 20 odd years ago, and only recently have the findings been properly studied. But ultimately nothing changed, we simply have more information to work with, and the fact that you seem to think that's somehow a flaw of understanding is really goddamn sad.
So now it's in our atmosphere, the moon is, allegedly. But also with the moon, when you watch how it moves, you see it moving in a circular motion with the face of the moon always remaining the same.
Yes, it's tidally locked, something that happens because of the mortal enemy of flat earthers, gravity. Okay, that was weird. Anyway, yeah, the moon is tidally locked with the Earth. Not 100% sure how that's going to help your case, but I can't wait to find out.
No one anywhere on the face of the Earth is able to see a different side of the moon than what's presented to everyone.
Does that not make you think if the entire Earth was flat, then depending on exactly which part of the sky the moon was in, we would be seeing different parts of it, since we do know you to be incredulous to the distance of the moon from Earth? It must be fairly close, so we could see a fair chunk of it. Now, that is, of course, if the moon is in fact round. If it is not, well, this still applies, but gets a lot more confusing, as not only would we see more from various angles, but it would be different shapes. And we simply don't see that. Now, to be fair, you haven't made that argument, but I wouldn't put it past you.
So it is moving, yes, in a circuit, and it's also moving, like maybe spinning like this, with the face staying and remaining the same, but it's not rotating on an
Come on, buddy, you can do it. Get the words out. Of course, this would be much easier if you had some sort of script and production values and, you know, facts.
like spinning so that we can see the other side of the moon. It's not happening. We're always seeing the same side. So it's a lot of problems for the globe.
So you are in no way going to explain how these things support your argument, or even how they actually are problems for the globe. Hint, they aren't. But I tell you what they are problems for. I'll give you a big clue. Starts with an F and ends with an ucking idiot flat earthers.
The globe Earth model in respect to the moon. With what we can see, especially when you got like a P900 or a P1000, you can zoom in on that thing like meticulously.
I don't know, man. I've seen flat earth camera work and it is poor at best. Blurry, shaky imagery that is then, for some goddamn baffling reason, zoomed into with another camera once the picture is on a screen. I am assuming it's because you don't know how to zoom in with software, but maybe you just know something that I don't. And hey, I'm always willing to accept when people do know things that I don't. But then again, I'm not a flatard.
And I can't zoom in on anything with my camera that's more than, I don't know, to get any good detail anyways. Anything that's, you know, tens of miles away, you know, so like maybe 50, 60 miles, and that's with the P1000, that's with a really good camera. But yeah, you can zoom in on that moon, you can see intricate details of the surface of the moon, or whatever we're looking at up there, that you shouldn't be able to see if it was 248,000 miles away.
Alright, okay, let's take one more look at your clear footage of the moon in this amazing video. What is hiding there in that detail? Ah, must be a family reunion thing. No wonder you're so obsessed. Bless! Are you tired of not being famous, handsome and good at the sex? Well, you need brand new extra strength Sick brand merch. Sick brand merch is the only merchandise with artwork created by the famous, womansome and almost as good at the sex, Mrs. Sick. And running the store is basically her job now, so if you don't buy something, you must hate her. And by extension, all women. You don't want to be a woman hater, do you? Sick brand merch. Because you're better than that.